Meanwhile, in Moscow, the opposition leader Alexei Navalny has been hospitalized after reports of being poisoned by an unknown chemical substance in prison have emerged. Now, Alexei Navalny was in fact in jail serving a 30-day term for triggering the protests in Moscow when he showed signs of severe face swelling and skin redness. Now, at this point of time, the leader was taken to the hospital where the doctors have indicated a possible exposure to an unknown chemical substance. This, of course, has also raised suspicions of a possible case of poisoning. Navalny's spokeswoman, Kira Yarmish, has said that the leader has never shown such signs of an allergic reaction before. Now, the protesters managed to make their way into the hospital where Alexei Navalny was admitted, triggering a response from the police. At least about 12 people, including journalists, who were covering the incident, were again detained by the police. The Moscow is, of course, seeing some of the biggest anti-government protests in recent years. According to reports, it's been suggested that more than 1,000 people have so far been arrested by the police over the course of the weekend for these protests that have been organized. Now, the people were protesting against the exclusion of many opposition candidates for the elections to the Moscow's City Council. The council is currently controlled by pro-Kremlin United Russia Party, and as many as about 30 opposition candidates have been disqualified from even contesting these council elections. Almost about 3,500 people participated in the rally for free and fair elections. All right, a day after Hong Kong police used tear gas, pepper spray and rubber bullets against the demonstrators, thousands of protesters again came out on the streets, yet again against police brutality. Now, the police fired tear gas and then rubber bullets at the crowds of protesters. The demonstrators had taken to the streets to demand action over an attack that took place a week earlier by suspected criminal gangs known as tribes. So this is what played out in the financial hub of Hong Kong. Now, mass protests in the former British colony over a proposed extradition bill that has now been suspended, and the protests have now entered into the third month as the clashes between the pro and anti-Beijing factions have increasingly taken an ugly turn. The mass protests have become a bit of a regular weekend affair for Hong Kong residents amidst public resentment over police violence, while leader Carrie Lam's failure to address the unrest continues to grow. Remember, earlier this month, the protesters had also stormed into the legislature building, vandalizing the structure and also spray painting slogans 6 days ago. Now, the protesters aimed straight for the Chinese seat of power in Hong Kong, the Chinese representative's office. They also blackened the emblem of the Chinese government. They hurled eggs and paint bombs at the building. They also threw poles at the police personnel who tried to stop them. For about 8 weeks now, the protests have challenged Beijing's authority over Hong Kong, embroiling the city-state into its worst political crisis. Now, besides the extradition bill, the police inaction and also what the protesters claim is police brutality and apathy have been at the center of the agitations since last week. And we also earlier spoke to our correspondent Patrick Falk, who is in Hong Kong and is tracking the protest there. Let's listen in to what he had to say.
Yeah, that's right. But things have been rather different today. It's been incredibly tense here out in Central. There was, of course, a protest that was planned to take place from Cheta Garden to Sun Yat-sen Memorial Garden, which is just to the right of me. And there was always that possibility of protesters trying to move on to the Beijing liaison office, where they vandalized the place last week and, of course, provoked Beijing in doing so. But the protesters were here just about an hour ago, and they've been pushed back by the police, who fired several rounds of tear gas and rubber bullets, and the situation was incredibly tense, and the police have been advancing very quickly indeed, determined to keep them well away from the liaison office. And I think that's an indication of just how important a symbol the liaison office is. It is the highest authority of the central government in the city.